So let's see about Xilonen early. Let's see if she breaks the meta. So we are going to react to Gacha Gamer because only they have access to it beforehand. So let's see what they have to do.
Special here. Because, let me ask you, what's better than Kazuha? Well, how about two Kazuhas? Check this out. I mean,
Two Kazuhas. Is it just because of her ultimate or is it because something else?
yeah, it works absolutely flawlessly here. Xilonen is super easy to use in these kinds of teams. Okay, but let's start from the beginning. So,
Now that's a great angle, man. That's a great angle. Let's go back. Yeah, it's a good angle.
in this video, I'm gonna give a very basic overview of Xilonen and how she works.
Basically, let's predict what he's gonna say. He's gonna say she's gonna be an S tier support, and she's almost a must pull or a very good character for Natlan. That's basically TLDR if you don't want to watch this video. But I don't know because this video just launched 5 minutes ago, so I didn't watch it all. But I kind of know.
My first impressions of her, and I'll also share a couple of teams I've found to be really fun to play her with. Now, keep in mind, this footage is obtained from the Creator Experience server, and content shown here may actually differ from the global version. And basically, because Hoyo allowed me to give you this quick sneak peek of Xilonen, a more in-depth video of her, which includes the showcase and the guide, will be released on October 4th, which is
By the way, guys, don't wait for this guy. I'm just reacting to this shit just because I've seen some people that kind of enjoy longer videos. I personally don't enjoy it, but for you guys who enjoy it, let's see what Xilonen really is. Because I've been playing since day one Genshin, and I can guide you in picking her.
gonna happen in a few days from this video. Okay, so why did I say she's a second Kazuha? Well, she's not exactly second Kazuha, but she offers very similar benefits. Okay, so for example, you see these groups of like treasure hunters? Let's say I apply some Hydro to them, then use Xilonen, do a couple of hits, and it maxes out. Now I can switch off, go back to Duelette, and do some amazing damage, like very easily. So basically how it works, you see the
I mean, just attacking some random minions on the map doesn't mean anything. So this showcase doesn't really provide a good insight on what Xilonen really does. It should have been a boss or an abyss, right? And anyone can do this in open world.
these waves below him? Well, those waves will be active whenever Xilonen fills up her Night Soul bar during the skill. And you see these little like gems, or I think they're called samplers, right next to her like Night Soul bar? Well, if she fills it up, it actually ends her Night Soul mode, and once this thing appears below her, that means everyone's resistance will be shredded based on the samplers she had. So in this team, since there's only like Hydro units and one Geo unit, both Hydro and Geo resistances will be shredded on this enemy, and the resistance shred doesn't actually apply.
So she basically shreds the defense and you can deal more damage. And with her artifact, she's gonna apply more damage, so you get the idea, she's broken.
On the enemy, it applies from this thing right here. And if you get close to any enemies, their resistance will be shredded. So it's actually super flexible in places like the Spiral Abyss. If there's like a new wave of enemies coming, and if this thing is still active, those new enemies' resistances will be still shredded. Now, for this resistance shred to work, she does need to be in a party with two elements from Hydro, Pyro, Cryo, or Electro. So for example, this team I've been enjoying a lot. It's made up of Farina, Benny, and Ito. Now, all I have to do here is set up a couple of things, and then, as you can see, the resistance shred still applies, which is really cool. And Ito's doing pretty nice damage as well. Now, if she doesn't have it in the team, one of those two elements I've mentioned, then when she activates her skill, her normal attacks and plunging attacks will gain damage increase. I mean, just by activating the skill, she still deals geo damage. But with the two elements I've mentioned, it's like a couple of attacks and you're done. So yeah, she's super flexible if you want to do things quickly. Now, as for her burst, it basically has two modes. So if you're playing with two of the mentioned elements, when you activate the burst, she will start healing the active character, which is like amazing. And one of the great things about it is that in teams like with Furina, I believe her healing is pretty good to activate the fanfare stacks. But if she's playing with less than 2 of those elements, then if you activate the burst, she will deal damage in AoE once and a couple more times. Okay, so that's a very rough overview of her entire kit. Again, the full showcase and guide video is coming in like a couple of days, and in the meantime, I'm just gonna share some of my thoughts about her so far, and what do I think about her free-to-play potential. Well, when it comes to free-to-play potential, I think she's pretty busted right now. Like, basically, if you put the 2 and 2 together, it's pretty clear the new artifact set Scroll of the Hero of the Cinder City.
I've told you. I've told you she's gonna use the new artifact set. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Is pretty much handmade for her. So in the addition of shredding the enemy's resistance, she will also boost the 2 elements of the reaction she triggered. And so the first thing I thought is that while Kazuha can boost elements such as Hydro, Pyro, Cryo, and Electro, can't really boost Geo, right? Well, Xilonen not only can boost Geo, but all the other 4 elements. Obviously, she cannot boost Dendro, and she will not be able to boost Anemo. But with these 5 elements, you can probably imagine there's a ton of teams that will want her. Like the first team that came to my mind was Ito. I mean, I still have a soft spot for this guy, and one of my favorite teams right now is Ito, Furina, Benny, and Xilonen. Like, this is the ultimate hyper carry's dream. Furina's damage buffing, Benny's attack boosting, and Xilonen's resistance shred and damage boosting from the artifact set. It's pretty nuts. But then there's also Navia teams, like for example Double Pyro team, with Benny and Xiangling. It also works really well. I mean, the thing that's really amazing about Xilonen is that her field time is so minimal. Seriously, all you have to do is just activate her skill, land a couple of normal attacks, and the Night Soul bar will be filled, and the skill's resistance shred will be activated, and then you can just use the burst and switch out. Since I mentioned that she works very similarly to Kazuha, I also thought about Nivelette. Like, this guy just keeps winning and winning with almost every update. So now, you can easily play like Nivelette, Furina, Kazuha, and Xilonen. This team works perfectly fine. The only thing to consider, I guess, if you don't have Nivelette's C1, then there will be problems with having no resistance to interruption when he's shooting the laser. But ironically, Xilonen's C1 actually boosts resistance to interruption when her skill's effect is active. So it's very interesting that she can also offer that. And yeah, on top of that, I'm also amazed that she can heal, and the healing is actually pretty significant. And so far, my experience in Furina comps was pretty good, and then even though due to technical reasons I cannot show the Abyss footage, I did play her in the Korean Abyss, and she felt really great. Most of the teams I slotted her in, she worked as a perfect support, although one thing I've noticed is that even though with some energy recharge built in, she did have a problem as a single Geo unit in the team to have the burst ready off cooldown, but if it's not a Furina team, I don't really see a problem triggering her burst every other rotation. Now, the other thing I would bring focus to would be her own personal performance. I haven't really fully explored it yet, but it does seem like she's far more better to be utilized as a
Don't play her as main DPS, just support.
support, at least at C0, and I haven't really looked at all the constellations, so I'm guessing she might get some damage boosting. And even as a support, like logically thinking, all she does is like land a couple of punches and then you activate the burst. And if you're playing with one of those 2 elements, that means she will deal geo damage like 2 times from a normal attack when she's under the skill's influence. And then the burst doesn't deal damage, it just heals. But if you're playing like in more geocentric team with just like without the 2 elements, then yeah, you can stay on the field and do some damage with her, and the burst will also land a couple of AoE attacks. But so far, I'm really leaning towards her support mode. I don't know, I'm probably just excited that I can like have 2 Kazuhas in a team, and this whole situation reminds me of like Yolan, because you know, what's better than Xingqiu? Well, 2 Xingqius. So yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to my really light first impressions of her. Although I will mention that exploration with her is quite amazing in Natlan, especially since she can actually work really well with Milani. So if you play them together, switching between her and Milani, which is possible because of that transmission effect, it just feels really fast when you're exploring. And the fact that you can finally run on the walls and run like in the Matrix, this is like something I wanted to see in Genshin for a long time.
So yes, basically she's a good character. Pull for her. That's it.